The anticipation is building for our very first pink conversation. Stay tuned to the Pink House, July 8th, 7 p.m. All right, all right. Okay, Miss Paris, I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you for doing this again with me.
You're welcome. You're
I
welcome.
just want the audience to know Paris and I had a fantastic conversation about 40 some minutes ago. And because this is new to me, it didn't record. And so we're doing this again because I want you guys to meet this young lady. She is so inspiring, so encouraging, and her story just needs to be shared because I know it's so many people uh, that can benefit from it. And so we're doing it again. So here we go, take two. All right, Paris, again, just tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
All right. My name is Paris. I recently finished my journey with breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer. I got diagnosed March of last year, stage 3 triple negative breast cancer. I had a lump in my breast and on the right side, and I kind of ignored it for a couple of months, and then I ended up getting another one right above it, which was a smaller one, and it had like a texture to it. And so I told my mom that I needed to go get a mammogram. So I got the mammogram done, and of course, when they find something, they want you to get an ultrasound. So shortly after that, I got an ultrasound, and while waiting to get the ultrasound, my mind is kind of going crazy because I don't know what's
Mhm.
going on. And so they did the ultrasound, and the radiologist that came in there, the doctor, she was like, "I think you need to go ahead and try to find a surgeon." And I'm like, "A surgeon? Like, what type of surgeon do I need to get? Like, And so she was like, "We'll call you and we'll let you know, what you need to do in the next
Right.
steps." So they called me the very next day and they told me that I need to come back in to get a biopsy in both tumors. Got the biopsy done that Wednesday. I got my results back Friday. And I remember distinctly being at work and getting that phone call. And the doctor was like, "Miss Smith, I'm sorry to tell you that there was cancer in both tumors." So I immediately broke down crying because I have no family history of breast cancer anywhere in my family. So it kind of just shocked me a little bit because I'm like, where did this come from? Like, I just had all these questions. And so that Monday, I ended up seeing my surgeon, and he told me that I was, first, he said I had invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2, grade 3. And then I ended up was waiting on the HER2 test to come back.
Uh-huh.
Got HER2 test came back, and my nurse called me and said that it was triple negative. And so I went back to see my surgeon, and that's when he called, told me that I was gonna have to have surgery. But before that, I needed to do chemo. So I did 6 months of chemotherapy. Started at the end of April. Probably ended up like close to the end of September when I finished doing chemotherapy. So shortly after that, between September and October, which was when my mastectomy was scheduled, my tumor had grown tremendously. So I went and saw my doctor, and she was like, "I agree, Miss Smith, that your tumors have grown. So we need to, but we can't do anything at this point because my surgery was probably like a couple of weeks, maybe like no, actually it was that Monday.
Okay.
So I had my mastectomy done and had to go through that process. And probably around about December, I found out that my cancer, I had residual cancer in my pectoral area. And they wouldn't do surgery because it was, in the muscle. So
Okay.
radiation would target all that. So I went through radiation, started in December 14th, ended January 31st. So I did 35 treatments altogether. And so that was extremely rough because going through that skin changes and the burning every day was mentally weighing on me every single day. So I got through that, and then I had my next PET scan in probably like the end of April, beginning of May. And I found out at my next appointment that I was clear of, breast cancer. I was clear. So I'm just thankful that I got over on the other side of being a survivor of all that and going through all that journey, and being able to, I posted a lot during my chemotherapy. I posted a lot during my radiation, and posted a lot during my mastectomy. So I was very open about sharing my story about what I was going through with my breast cancer, because I felt like, why not share it?
All right. Let me ask you a question. I know one of the things we talked about before, you said the radiation was the hardest part. What's something that you did for yourself mentally to help you try to stay as positive as you could going through it?
So mainly what I did, because there was a lot of nights where I would just lay in the bed and just cry and just, I was going through mentally. So I would start writing. I have a lot of journals. I have several journals here. So I would just write and just write down everything I was going through, and listen to music at the time. I would listen to music and I would just write and write and write and write, and that would be my piece at the moment. And also, talking to my family members and people at my job, like, helped me go through this whole process of radiation, because it was just it's a mental toll on, as far as, and physically as well.
Yeah. And two, I remember when we spoke before, you were saying that you have a lot of male friends and that their mindset towards it. I thought it was really interesting what you said, that because it was a lot of fear maybe associated with their reactions and stuff, and not knowing what to do and what to say. And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. They distanced themselves, because they just didn't know how to handle that. I think I spoke with one of my friends not recently, and he was just apologizing like several times, and he was like, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle all that. And I'm like, well, I'm the one going through it. I was like, I just, you could have sent a text message. But I had to realize, because I have three brothers and my father, and I have to realize males tend to back away from things like that, because they
yeah,
don't know how to handle
right,
something like that. Because when people hear cancer, they think about death.
right.
And it's harsh to say, but they do. And so
It's
I
the
think in
immediate
their
thing they go to. Yes.
exactly. So I think in their minds they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to do. Let me, I don't know what to say to her. I don't know, how I feel. I don't know how she feels. So I had to explain to them, like, it's okay. Like, if I'm posting that I'm okay and I'm doing, I'm openly posting my story, you
Right.
know that I'm doing okay. Even if I'm not doing okay, you still should be like, well, let me
They
check on
can still
Paris to see
reach
how,
out to you.
yeah, let me check on Paris. Let me see how she's doing, mentally, how she feeling. So,
And it made
that's
me
something
think
that I
about
learned. Hmm.
um that movie Still Magnolias, and Sally Field
Yes.
had that great line when she was comparing the strength of men and women, and she
Yes.
said men are supposed to be such strong thing. And that's true. When it comes to health and things like that, they tend to withdraw.
Exactly. Hmm.
They don't have the strength. That
Yeah.
strength usually comes from the women in their lives, and so yeah,
Absolutely.
that's really true.
Yeah.
And it's good when you are going through the disease process that you, at times like it, can have the wherewithal to keep that in your mind, because sometimes when people pull away and you're at a very vulnerable period like it, sometimes we
Right.
might not always interpret it or be able to, so to have the wherewithal to give them that credit, so to speak, because you're understanding that they just really are not being able to handle it. That was a good thing too.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is a major difference between the Paris before and the Paris now?
Um, I would say the Paris before was, like I said, because I have MS, I'm very aware of, my health and everything.
Okay.
But Paris now is more like, I'm so pumped to want to help people.
Okay.
And it sounds crazy, because some people that are going through breast cancer, they just want to break and they just want to chill, because they went through all this stuff and they just
Right.
want to, take back. And me, I'm on the other hand, I'm like, I want to help people. I want to help women. Like, what can I do to uplift them and encourage them and make them feel beautiful. So I'm more, and I'm also more aware of my body when it comes to my, you know, and I was aware before because I'm like every little thing. I'm like, okay, every little twitch. I'm like, okay, let me, and I'm not one to like go on Google doctor. That's what I call it.
Girl, they have us all the way down another
Right.
path too. We've been diagnosed a whole bunch of stuff.
Exactly. And like I said, I work in healthcare, so I'm always like, don't Google anything. Don't go to Google Doctor, please. Google Doctor would tell you have stage 4
Yes.
cancer and you're about to die.
I remember, and like I said before, my sister is a nurse, but I remember when I was going through active treatment and everything, she finally said, Lynie, get off the computer. Stop it. And it was like, because my thing is, I feel like I just need to absorb a whole bunch of information so I can just have it in my head or whatever. She was like, just stop. Wait until we have some conversations with some professionals and what, I'm like, okay, I just want to know because I want to know what I need to ask them so I can understand this.
Right, exactly.
But it can take you down a rabbit hole if you do it too much.
It really will, because you find one thing and you're like, okay, well, let me Google that. And then you say another thing. You're like, let me Google that. I always say Mayo Clinic is my go-to because I trust them.
Yeah, I trust them. That's the one I go to too. I trust them a lot. Yeah,
exactly. When I found that I had MS, I lost my vision in my left eye, and I immediately went to Mayo Clinic because I knew that they knew what it was, and sure enough, it was what I thought I had. So I always go to Mayo Clinic for anything. I didn't necessarily do it with the tumors because, like I said, I had a history of a papilloma, and it just didn't dawn on me that it could be at all, at all. And I would have thought that was breast cancer because I actually had bloody discharge coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was extremely scary because I'm like, okay, oh my gosh, it could be cancer, and that wasn't even cancer; it was benign. So when this one came up, I'm like, oh, it could be a fibroadenoma.
Right. It didn't really alarm you that it could be. Yeah. And this is so interesting too, because something you said earlier that you are in tune to your body. And I tell people that all the time. I say, you really should listen to your body because for me, I have been having all of this pain in my left breast. I mean, just pain and I told every provider I had gone to, I don't know what's going on, but I'm having all of this pain. And they were like, well, pain's not associated with breast cancer. So that's what I kept getting. Pain is not associated with breast cancer.
Right.
And it wasn't time for me to have my mammogram. So I think my mammogram wasn't due till like October. And I think we were like in June, maybe July, August. And finally, I went to my primary doctor, and I guess she looked at it as, I'm gonna shut this girl up. I'm gonna send her to get a mammogram, and I was like, I said, I hear what you're telling me. I understand that, but something's not right. I shouldn't keep having this kind of pain I'm having. And so she sent me to get the mammograms and stuff. And sure enough, when I did the mammogram, they were like, okay, well, we see something. We want to get some biopsies. And so then it was like, and I just knew, but the cancer ended up being in my right breast. Wow. And so I tell people, listen to you. And I tell you, no lie. Once they found it and started working on it, I have not had pain on that left side since. And I tell people, I don't care what y'all think, listen to your body. Because I just feel like that was my body telling me something is wrong, even though the issue was on the opposite side. I was getting all that pain on the left side. And so, listen, it's a critical thing. And I'm trying now to listen to my body to be healthier because I'm a heavy girl. I'm a more than a curvy girl. That's what I say. And I have other conditions like diabetes or what have you. So I'm really, really trying to take stock of that to do better. Because, you just don't know what the contributing factor. I don't know what happened. The contributing factor may have been to it to cause it, even though, like you said, they told you it's not your fault. But still, you just don't know. And how do you deal with now having to go to future mammograms? Because I know I was uber nervous and scared those first set of mammograms that I had to get right after. How have you dealt with? Have you had any anxiety because of that?
So I recently, it's funny you asked. I recently had a mammogram on my left breast because they checked both. Before I had my mastectomy, they checked both of them. But the left one, they saw some cysts. So I recently just went back actually, and they call them complicated cysts. So they're benign, but they want to keep an eye on it.
Watch on them.
Yeah. So I went, and of course, as soon as I got there, putting that robe on, it just brought me back to when I first went and got my mammogram, how I felt, the nervousness and everything. And so, of course, on the left side, the tech does the ultrasound first, and then they're like, all right, we're going to go get the doctor, and then the doctor. And, my thing is when the doctor comes in and they're like, okay, pull up the old image, and they're like pulling up the old image and trying to do a comparison. And I'm thinking, I'm sweating. I'm like hyperventilating. I got my mask on, so I'm like, I can't breathe. And so
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, I'm like the whole time I got my arm up, and I'm just like, all right, what's going on? And she was like, oh, it's okay, Miss Smith. She's like, they're just, they're still the same. They're stable, no cancer, nothing like that. And I'm like, well, say that first.
I know. And then they have you waiting this long period of time for somebody to read this or do that. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? Only for them to come back and give you a letter. Oh, it's okay. I'll see you in a year.
Yeah, okay. Get a thrill off people just getting nervous and going crazy while you're doing this ultrasound. But I was glad that it was, nothing negative or anything like that because I have dense breast tissue.
Okay.
Which is something that I recently learned about. I don't know if it's hereditary or not, but my mom and my grandma both have dense breast tissue. So they say it doesn't make it higher chances for you to get breast cancer, but when you do have breast cancer, it's harder for them to find it. So you have to do the 3D mammogram. So
every time, That's the same thing with 3D. Me. I have the dense breast tissue.
Yeah. So I had to do the 3D mammogram on the left side so they can see it. And of course, she was like, all right, we're going to take you to get an ultrasound. So I had to wait because that breast cancer center is very popular. Like I said, they're very well known. So especially when I went back in last year, everybody was getting the COVID vaccine and all these people were getting, their lymph nodes were swollen. Okay. So when I went to get my first mammogram on the right side before I found out, there were so many women there like getting mammograms, and I'm like, is it just a normal thing that women come around this time to get their annual? But it was really because of the COVID vaccine. Okay. So I got a little nervous, so when I went back, it was like it put me back in that same headspace that, what if it could be cancer, something like that. So now I'm just, like I said, I'm more aware of my body and, what I eat and things like that. So, but it does kind of stick in your head. Like when you walk in there, you're like, all right.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Kind of like and it's PTSD. Funny because like I had mentioned to you before, I immediately joined the Cancer Work Support Group when I got diagnosed in 2017. And one of the ladies that had come through, because that was one of my questions, because at that point, every pain I felt, I was nervous. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm calling them. They're going to have to, And so she had been a survivor for 15 years. Wow. And she had just going into her 16th year, and a new cancer had come up. And so it's like, it's still always in the back of your mind. But like she said, so for a long time, she wasn't even worried anymore when she would go get her mammograms because it had been year after year. And then all of a sudden, bam, here it was again. So, it's just one of them things I think you do eventually, because like now I'm not as nervous as I used to be. But like you said, when you go in and you got to get in the gown and stuff, you do like, because there's that possibility, but I'm not in that almost panic state that I used to be in when I had to go get a mammogram.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing with you too, one of the things Hopkins does is that every June 5th is their National Cancer Survivorship Day. And this year, one of the things that they did was they did a campaign, and it was virtual because of COVID. And so they asked the question to all of these survivors, what does survivorship mean to you? So that is one of the questions that I will always ask all of my survivors. What does survivorship mean to you? What does that mean to you, Paris?
Like I said before, it's like that determination, and now that you're on the other side, you have that that will to want to help other people, and to inspire them and help them and uplift them, for as far as for me, because going through this journey, I saw how many people I impacted just with my story. So it just makes me more aware to want to help other women to get early detection and things like that, and just and also just help women that are currently going through their journey.
Yeah.
They may not feel their best, they may feel down, and I want to be able to uplift them and inspire them. And that's one of the reasons why I went ahead and posted that on the group, because I wanted to let women know, like, hey, I've been through this journey and I got through it, and I want you to feel beautiful as you're going through your journey, your own journey. It may be rough, it may be hard, with chemo and radiation, and losing a breast or losing both breasts. But I just want to be able to help them and inspire them, and let them know that you may have your down days, but don't stay there. Get back up and keep fighting and keep going, and having that will to want to keep pressing on despite the illness that they're currently dealing with. So my thing right now is, I just want to help people. I want to help women, and I think that's something that I was given to want to help women. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It's just when I see women, and I see that they're going through something, I just want to help them, even if it's just a word of encouragement, or just
Right.
to
Right.
see them smile, or tell them that they're beautiful. If they don't feel like they're beautiful, I want to help them get to that point where they can get up in the morning or whatever time they get up and know, you know what, I may be going through this disease right now, but it's not permanent. It's just a
Yeah.
temporary thing, and to take it day by day.
And it's amazing how visual art can have such a powerful impact. And I say that because, like we had talked about before, because I asked you, when you see yourself, like I tell you, I still have a hard time looking at myself, because even though I'm square, so it's a different shape, and and I make it light or what have you, but sometimes you don't always feel your most beautiful.
Exactly.
And what I was trying to help you to appreciate, I probably, even in the words I'm using, can't really convey to you how impactful those photos of you are, because because if this can make sense to you, I felt beautiful looking at you. If you
Wow.
understand what I'm saying,
Yeah.
seeing somebody that even has more of a deformity, or different shape, let me put it that way, than me, and I feel the way I do about me, looking at you and looking how beautiful those pictures were, it made me feel beautiful. That
Wow.
was powerful to you. And it's like I told you before, it's just even, it's like when they're in my phone, I'm scrolling down in the group, and when it pops up, I was like, it just brings a light to me to make me feel so much better, even about myself in
Wow.
that circumstance, looking at those photos. Because it
Wow.
says to me, what it spoke to me was, it spoke about your courage.
Mhm.
It spoke about you knowing and embracing who you are,
Yeah.
and wanting to help, because you don't do something like that and then post it if your goal is not to help. That's the
Right.
you know what I mean, and that's the
Yeah.
point. And all of that came through those photos. They are just, and so, like asked you, could I use them for um part of when I put the video together that's going to release Friday, because I want everybody that even I know, like I don't have a huge following, but for the followers that I have, I want them to be able to take away something like I took away from it,
Yeah.
because it was
Absolutely.
very inspiring, very encouraging. And those are some of the things, because like I know even right now, I don't have the confidence to do something like that. My confidence went to this way, to try to create some
Yeah.
content that could
Right.
help people,
Yeah.
in that way. Maybe I
Yeah.
will in time have the confidence to do something like that. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the reasons why I started this. Like I said, not just for women with breast cancer or any disease process, but any trauma. I'm an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And so it's
Wow.
any trauma that
Right.
women have gone through that could somehow stunt their growth. That's
Yeah.
what the Pinkhouse is about, to help them grow strong, to feel strong,
That's
that you
beautiful.
can be who you are from those experiences, but they don't define who you are. You know,
Exactly.
you can always, like you said, see the mark of helping somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know what you did to get through this. You know the impact that these experiences had on you, and so wanting to reach down and help somebody else out. You
Yeah.
know, and so
Yep.
yeah, but though, and like I told you, those photos, they will. I'm telling you, I've seen a lot of photos. They will forever be the top. They're just. I'm telling you, they really speak. You should get a really big one and frame it and put it on the wall.
I am.
That's
I
what I'm telling
am.
you. They just
Yeah.
really speak volumes. They are beautiful. They are beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. I when I was going through looking at them and even just going getting ready to do that photo shoot,
Hmm.
I had my outfits and everything, but the lady that did my photo shoot, because I did a photo shoot last year when I lost all my hair, and my friend was
Okay.
like, "You got to do a photo shoot," and that was impactful to so many people because they're like, "This woman here just lost all her hair, and here she is,
Oh, you're gonna have to
posing."
send me those photos so I can see them
I
too.
will. I will. I will. Those were beautiful, and the way he did it and captured everything, it was just beyond beautiful. And I actually used those for a lot of like blogs and like Susie Coleman interviews that I've done.
Okay.
And so I have this now because it's post mastectomy, post radiation,
Okay.
post chemo. So I wanted to embrace that. That was the first thing she asked me. She was like, "What do you want to do? What is your goal with these photos?" And I was like, "I really want to help, other women to see that they, besides going through everything that they've gone through, losing a breast, they can embrace that beauty. And even if they don't get to that point now, you know, my goal is to help them get to that point."
Yeah.
And so when I saw that photo, even just before she edited, I almost was in tears because I was like, wow. And I wasn't even trying to show the scar of the mastectomy. It just
Right.
came out that way. So when she edited, I was like, this is something that I can use
I told
to
you,
help
it's
somebody
like,
else.
I'm gonna tell you, it's the adage where they say a picture says 1,000 words. That is what that was for me. It was like I didn't have to hear it visually. I was hearing the whole message from it for
Yeah.
me personally, and so it was. Tell a lady, job well done,
I
because
did
she.
actually. I text her because I was getting so many comments from it, and so many women saying that like you, it helped them, and thank you for posting this. I feel beautiful just by seeing that. And
Yeah.
so I text her, and I said, people are really raving about these pictures, and she was like, she said, I'm so grateful. She said because I just wanted to capture who you are as a woman, that have been through such a journey as what you've gone through. And
Right.
so I just appreciate her for just even taking the time. And this lady, she just saw me after church and she was like, I think I had my first time taking my wig off. And
Uh-huh.
she was like, I gotta get a photo shoot with you. She was like, please. I was like, and I'm thinking like, I'm just embracing the fact that I didn't wear a wig to church today.
Right.
My hair's still coming in. And she was like, I gotta do a photo shoot with you. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't know what to expect. So when I walked in the studio and she had all this material, and I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do with that? And she was like, I'll show you once we get finished with your, what you
Right.
brought.
Right.
So once she wrapped it around and she was telling me how to pose and everything, she was excellent. That lady, she was like,
Yeah.
all right, do this, do
It
that,
was.
look
It was
away.
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, she did a really good job. So,
Yeah.
but I'll send you the other ones too.
Oh,
The one that
please,
my friend
please.
did. You're
Yeah.
gonna love those too because it just captured, embracing my journey, embracing losing hair, embracing going through chemo, everything. And so, um,
Now, have you? I had an experience going through my journey, and I was curious if you did too, and only in the fact that the statistics are 1 in every 8 women will get breast cancer, and so um, I have the worst joints in the world. I have bad knees, bad whatever, and so my hand provider, she got breast cancer, and and I'm like, it seems like once I got it, all of a sudden it seemed like so many people that I knew
yes,
of were getting breast cancer. I was like, oh my goodness,
yes,
it was like that blew my mind. So did you have that experience too, feeling like,
I did. Not me personally, but like I said, because I was very open with my story,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of people that were like messaging me on Facebook and would say, "Hey, my mom just got diagnosed," or I have a close friend, her mom, she recently died of breast cancer a couple of years
Mm-hmm.
ago, and so just hearing about all these women that are going through breast cancer or like just finding out about breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
it was just crazy. And then, of course, talking to my doctor, because I asked the question, I was like, do you see a lot of young women getting breast cancer? She said, Paris, honestly, I have more younger patients than I do older patients. And that
Wow.
just kind of like brought me to tears, because I'm like, it used to be when you get, in your 50s and
Right.
60s, you get breast cancer.
Breast
And
cancer.
now it's like, in your 30s, like early 30s. And so it broke my heart, because I'm like, she was telling me about a young lady that was, I think she was like 31, and she was pregnant and she found out she had breast
Breast
cancer.
cancer.
And I
Mm.
was just like, is it, something we're eating? Because I did the genetic testing, and, to find out if there could be, a possibility somewhere
Right.
down the gene that somebody had cancer. And basically it came back like inconclusive. So it's disheartening for me to
I
know
live in
that.
Maryland, and I'm gonna tell you, when I was a younger woman, because like we said, you said you're 36 and I'm 58, and so that's that too. The disparity in the ages, it's like even you can't even pinpoint, like you said, the
Yeah.
age group that it affects. But I'll never forget when I was in my early 20s watching a PBS special, and it was talking about a lot of these towns that were industry towns, had a lot of factories and all of that type of thing. And it talked about, for Maryland, it said the question is not if you'll get cancer, it's when, because of all
Wow.
the pollution and stuff around in the state what have you. And I was that has always stuck with me. So when they
Yeah.
diagnosed me, I said, "Oh Lord, I didn't know when I saw that special all them years ago I was going to be
That it
one
was
of these
going to
people that end
apply
up
to
with
you.
cancer."
Right.
But yeah, and that's what it said. And it just is always, like what's been putting out water, the air, and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, because it's just out there. So
Yeah. And that's basically what the genetics counselor, she was like, it's environmental. And I'm like, well, that's scary, because it's like, is it anything that I'm eating? And I don't really
right,
eat bad, but I'm like, occasionally I want, some bad food. But I'm,
right.
I'm thinking in my past, like, okay, well, I have MS, so I'm very aware of what I eat,
What you eat,
because,
yeah.
yeah. So knowing that I got breast cancer, family history, and it was environmental, I'm like, well, how? Like, I had so many questions. And she was an African American woman as well, so she was saying the same thing. Like, it's sad that it's in the African American community for women have a higher chance of getting cancer. So it just makes you wonder, like, what is it? Like, what is
Right.
it?
What is
You
the
know,
trigger?
yeah,
Yeah.
so, and now I'm more aware. So I'm like, my mom, she was telling me a couple of weeks ago, she was like, I need to go get my mammogram, but I'm dreading it. I'm like, no, go. Like,
Go,
go now.
right. Now
I
I
know
will
your
tell you
daughter.
too. I had a
Yeah.
girlfriend, when I was first going through treatment. She must not have had a mammogram in years. But
Wow.
because I got breast cancer and was going through treatment, it made her decide to go ahead and get a mammogram or what have you. So, it is some benefits to when it's happening in your life, because it may impact other people to be more
Exactly.
cognizant of, okay, you do need to take care of this, you do
Right.
need to,
Exactly.
because not knowing is not saying it's not there.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you just acting like you blinded in the dark, but it doesn't mean that the disease isn't there. So you're better
Yeah.
off knowing, because then you could fight, you could put on a fight. Yeah.
Exactly. So I do, I'm, making my, family more aware, like my sister-in-laws, my mom, even just people that I work with,
Yeah.
making them more aware, just because you just never know. I never would have thought in a million years that I would get breast cancer. You see
Right.
the commercials, like the
Right.
Truda, which is what I'm taking now. I'm doing
Oh,
fluid
okay.
infusion. Before all that, I'm like seeing these, these commercials, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. Not knowing, that I
Now
could
I
go
know the
through it
maintenance
myself.
treatment that they had me on. They had me on a nastrolazole, and I was able to take that for about a year and a half. Girl, it gives you the most debilitating joint pain. And I already had bad
Wow.
knees. And it was like, I mean, I was walking totally like just incapacitated, like so bad.
Yeah.
So they took me off of that and then put me on exemestane, I think, which is in the
Mhm.
same family but a different one. And I was able to tolerate that for about a year or so before it started. So finally,
Yeah.
I just made the decision. I told my doctor I can't. I said
Yeah.
because my baseline with my knees is bad enough in
Yeah.
these drugs. And so what she said was that I probably had gleaned the best benefit out of it for the number of years that I had been on it.
Hmm.
So she was okay with me stopping it. So I think this past April, I think made a year that I haven't been on any medication.
Oh, well,
And
that's
yeah,
good.
and so I'm back at my baseline, which is bad enough. But I was, oh girl, I was like, I was losing my mind. I thought,
I
oh,
would have too.
and everybody in that group that we in, I'm telling you, that is one of the that anastrolazole, that is one of the family of drugs that girl, the joint pain is just it is mind blowing. It is just so bad. So I was like, oh yeah, I can't do this one no more. But
That's like the when I oh AC, that's what it was. I was on AC for 6 weeks.
mm,
But they would give you this little patch or whatever that's supposed to help with the with your blood count, but it will also
okay.
cause like um joint pain.
Oh,
So they told me to take Claritin for joint pain.
oh
And I was like,
really?
I had no clue that Claritin helped
A
for
joint
joint
pain.
pain.
Huh.
Who knew?
Right.
I learned a lot when I was on chemo, and they were like, "Yeah, take this because it helps with this." And I'm like, "What? I didn't even know that." Because they're like, Claritin's an antihistamine, and I was like, "Well, I guess that makes sense," but I just would have never thought in putting, taking Claritin for joint pain. So, I am on the Keytruda, and I have like one or two more treatments, and then I'll be on a chemo pill for 6 months.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm not really sure, but I know they're watching me very closely because
Closely.
my cancer didn't go away the first time.
Okay.
So they'll probably keep me on like some maintenance drugs for a
For a
while.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Now let me ask you. There's two last questions to ask you. This one question in the group that we're in, and I had read. This lady had joined the group, and she was posting like a really. She was just in a bad space post because her sister-in-law was making her feel bad that the type of cancer that she had, all she had to do was have surgery and radiation. She didn't have to do chemo. And that was the same with me. I didn't have to do chemo. I just had to do surgery and radiation. And but I didn't have anybody make me feel bad about it. And I thought, that I never thought about that, like that people would make you feel like you somehow have less breast cancer because of the
Yeah.
treatment modalities that they use or
Yeah.
whatever. Were you impacted with any of that in your journey?
Um, as far as like having someone like that, no. The doctor that I work with, he found out he had colon cancer,
Okay.
and his was very quick, like probably like zero stage. He had surgery, and that was it.
Okay.
So of course, a part of me, we're he was like we're cancer twins, and I'm like, we are cancer twins, but I'm like, I had to go through all that. You just had to have surgery.
Like, yeah, why couldn't I have what you had?
Right. I never told him that, but in my back of my head, I'm like, because they were like, all right, well, Dr. Sloan's going out for surgery, and he found out he had cancer, colon cancer, and I'm like, oh God, I'm praying for him and everything. And then we got an update from his wife, like cancer, they got all the cancer. He doesn't have to do anything, because he was supposed to,
Wow.
he went and saw his oncologist, and he was like, no treatments or anything like that. And I'm thinking, wow, that's so awesome, but I had to lose my hair, like he was like, and then he texted me. He said, "I'm one lucky guy," and I was like, "That you are, that you
So
are."
yeah, I already had that thought about you, buddy.
Right. I was like, because I'm jealous. I had to go through all of this, and you just had surgery, and you're back at work a month or two later. So and I'm happy for him, but it did make me feel a little some type
Something.
of way, you know,
Yeah.
because I was like, dang, you know, he didn't even have to really do anything, you know, and I had to. I'm still going through treatment. You know, he'll check on me every now and then. I think he checked on me the other like last week, and he was like, "You doing okay? I know you went to your appointment." I was like,
Because I know it was an Asian scientist, and she was relatively new at Hopkins, and she joined the cancer support group the same time I did, and so we were both finding out. But just the differences. I mean, girl, she just had, oh my goodness, she had so much stuff she had to endure.
"Wow,
And her mom was in China. She had no family. So I sort of took her in as far as like when she had appointments and stuff, some of my friends would go to be with her or whatever, because she just had nobody. And but it was always this thing in the back of my head. I was like, it's amazing how one person, I mean, she just had to go through everything, girl. I mean, just all
yeah,
kinds of stuff. And I was like,
yeah,
wow. And so I had to tell myself sometimes, you really do still have cancer. But I was feeling bad because I wasn't having to deal with all of the issues that she was having. I mean, I had my own, but they just were, and it's just one of those things that is just unique to whatever your type of cancer is and how
yeah."
they just subscribe to treat it. But
But I
yeah,
will say, working in healthcare, going through my breast cancer, I probably met more women that went through breast cancer than I ever have in all my healthcare life.
yeah, me
And I
too.
think it was meant to be that way. And all of them were like, you know, I'm 15, 20 years breast cancer survivor. And they would
Right,
encourage me. And I'm like, wow, like that encouraged me because to see women that have made it past the 5 year mark
right,
or
right.
even at the 5 year mark, I was like, that's going to be me.
Because it gives you hope that, yeah, okay, I
Yes,
really can beat and survive this thing. So my 5 years will be in August of this year.
that's
Sure,
amazing.
yes, and looking
Yes.
forward to. It's amazing too because the time when you're in the treatment and stuff, things seem slow. But
And then they
since
do.
then, I'm blown away with looks that now I'm like 5 years out. And it was like, wow, I can't believe it's 5 years out almost. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
amazing how, like you said, when you get to the other side of it and just start doing other things and stuff to try to help other people, that time just goes by. But that's
That's
what this
amazing.
is, to help women on that journey at whatever stage they find themselves in. Maybe it's a bad day or whatever, they can listen to this conversation and find some strength in it
Some
to
hope.
help
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
to fight another day, to
Yeah.
keep
Absolutely.
fighting. And so, did I ask you already the survivorship question, or am I thinking before? I asked you already in this segment.
Yeah, I think you asked first. I think that was the first question.
I want everybody to bear with me because I'm learning. We getting this thing together, and I really
Yeah.
do appreciate Paris your willingness to come back on and help do
Yes,
this because, like I
absolutely.
said, I know my audience needs to hear your message.
Thank you so
And so
much.
this was a double treat for me. Yes, it was. I know it's recording because it's asking me to end the broadcast up top, so I know it took
Yes,
this time.
awesome.
But
Thank you
yeah,
so
so
much.
once I get everything together, I'll let you know when it's gonna drop and premiere on Friday.
Okay,
And again,
absolutely.
DM me, send me your address because I got a special little
Okay,
sweet gift for you, darling. And we'll be
okay.
in touch. Well, let me
Yes.
say this. That's one of the major benefits too, is that it's a camaraderie and a sisterhood like you don't never know. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
you just meet women from all backgrounds, from all walks of life and stuff, and you just have that instant connection. And it's like
Absolutely.
it's just a shared experience.
Yes.
Nobody else really understands it, but somebody that's
That's
been through it. Yeah,
that's the
you
thing
know.
right there. That's
Mhm. Yeah.
love it.
So I thank you from the heart, sweetheart. I do.
You are so welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. I,
You
I, was, I was
too.
like, girl, when I said, I was like, oh no, I gotta call back. I'm like, oh.
Look, and I had went downstairs and got me some fruit, and I came back upstairs. I was
And
like,
that's what
"Oh
I said.
no,
She
let me see
probably
what
eating.
let
She
me
got to
get
do
back."
something. And I was like, oh, I apologize, but please, thank you, darling. I,
No,
I, I
you are
can't wait for
absolutely
this to
fine.
air. I really can't.
Yes,
Take care
me
of yourself,
too.
darling. We'll be in touch.
You
All
too.
right. Good
Bye bye.
night.
Good night.